Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling strangely drained, but you couldn't explain why? Nothing obvious happened. No argument. No direct insult. But something inside you feels off. Your mind keeps replaying the conversation. You wonder if you misunderstood something, or if the other person meant something deeper. And slowly, a quiet thought appears in your mind. What if someone in your life is manipulating you? Without you realizing it? Manipulation rarely looks obvious. Movies show villains controlling people openly. But in real life, manipulation is subtle, quiet, almost invisible. It hides inside normal conversations, jokes, advice, even kindness. And the most dangerous manipulators are the ones who never look like manipulators. They look like friends, partners, co-workers, family. Today we're going to uncover 7 signs someone might be secretly manipulating you. And some of them are so subtle, you might realize you've experienced them many times before. The first sign is when someone constantly makes you doubt your own memory. You remember something clearly, a conversation, a promise, a moment that happened. But when you bring it up, the other person looks confused. They say things like, "That never happened. You're remembering it wrong. You always exaggerate." At first you think, maybe they're right. Maybe your memory is wrong. But then it happens again, and again. And slowly, you begin to trust their version of reality more than your own. This is one of the most powerful psychological manipulation tactics. When someone makes you question your memory, your confidence slowly collapses. And once you stop trusting your own mind, it becomes very easy for someone else to control it. The second sign is guilt that appears out of nowhere. You say no to something simple. Maybe you can't meet them today. Maybe you disagree with them. Maybe you just need time for yourself. But instead of respecting it, they react in a strange way. They sigh. They become quiet. They say things like, "I guess I just care more about this than you do. I thought you were different. I would have done it for you." Suddenly, you feel guilty, even though you didn't do anything wrong. And the next time they ask for something, you feel pressured to say yes, not because you want to, but because you want to avoid that uncomfortable guilt. Manipulators understand something about human psychology. Most people would rather sacrifice their comfort than feel like a bad person. So they turn your empathy into a weapon. The third sign is when someone praises you, but something feels wrong about it. They compliment you. They admire you. They make you feel special, but their kindness comes in waves. One day they treat you like you're incredible. The next day they become distant, cold, or critical. Then suddenly the praise returns again. This pattern creates a powerful psychological trap. Your brain starts chasing their approval. You try harder to get that feeling back. You become more careful with what you say, how you act, what you do, without realizing it. They've turned your need for validation into control. And the scariest part is that it feels like love, respect, or friendship, when in reality, it's conditioning. The fourth sign is when conversations always somehow become your fault. You bring up a concern, maybe something they did hurt you, maybe something felt disrespectful, but instead of addressing the issue, the conversation flips. Suddenly they're the victim. They say things like, "I can't believe you think that about me. You're overthinking everything. Why are you always so negative?" And before you know it, you're apologizing. Not for what they did, but for bringing it up. This tactic works because most people hate conflict. Manipulators know that if they create enough emotional confusion, you'll eventually give up trying to explain yourself. And once that happens, they win every argument before it even starts. The fifth sign is subtle isolation. At first, it doesn't look like control. It looks like concern. They question your friends. They say things like, "I don't think that person is good for you. They seem fake. They're probably jealous of you." Slowly, they plant small seeds of doubt. You start seeing your friends differently. Maybe you talk to them less. Maybe you stop sharing certain things. Meanwhile, the manipulator becomes the person you trust the most, the person you go to for advice, the person whose opinion matters the most. And before you realize what happened, your world becomes smaller, and they are now standing at the center of it. Isolation makes manipulation incredibly powerful, because when someone controls the information around you, they slowly control the way you think. The sixth sign is when someone constantly changes the rules. One day something is fine. The next day, the same thing becomes a problem. Maybe a joke that used to be funny suddenly becomes offensive. Maybe a behavior they once encouraged suddenly becomes unacceptable. This unpredictability creates psychological instability. You start walking on eggshells. You become hyper-aware of every word you say, every decision you make. Your brain shifts into survival mode. And when someone is constantly trying to avoid making mistakes, they become easier to control. Manipulators thrive in this kind of environment because confusion weakens resistance. The seventh and most dangerous sign is when someone makes you feel like you need them to function. They subtly convince you that life would fall apart without them. Maybe they say things like, "You wouldn't have gotten this far without me. No one understands you like I do. You'd be lost without my help." At first, it feels supportive, but slowly, a psychological dependency forms. You start believing that they are the reason for your success, your stability, your confidence. And once someone believes they cannot function alone, they will tolerate behavior they would normally never accept. This is the final stage of manipulation, not control through force, but control through belief. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Most manipulators are not obvious villains. Many of them don't even realize they are manipulating. Human beings naturally seek power in relationships. Sometimes it happens unconsciously. Sometimes it happens intentionally. But the result is the same. One person slowly gains control over another person's emotions, decisions, and perception of reality. So how do you protect yourself? The first step is awareness. Manipulation loses power the moment you can see it clearly. The second step is trusting your internal signals. That strange feeling after certain conversations, that mental exhaustion, that quiet sense that something isn't right. Your mind notices patterns before your logic does. And the third step is boundaries. Healthy relationships respect boundaries. Manipulative relationships punish them. The moment someone consistently makes you feel guilty, confused, or emotionally small for protecting your boundaries, that tells you everything you need to know. But here is the deeper question. Why are humans so vulnerable to manipulation in the first place? Because our brains are wired for connection. We want approval. We want belonging. We want harmony. And manipulators understand this. They don't attack your weaknesses. They use your strengths against you. Your empathy, your loyalty, your kindness. And that is why manipulation can exist for years without being noticed. Because the very qualities that make someone a good person also make them easier to control. So the next time you walk away from a conversation feeling strange, drained, or quietly confused, don't ignore that feeling. Ask yourself a simple question. Was that conversation honest? Or was someone quietly trying to control the way I think? Because sometimes the most powerful psychological battles in your life are the ones you never realized were happening.